I'm going to make this video assuming that... Okay, is that recording? Okay. Alrighty. Here we are. Okay. Yeah. Oh, this looks pretty nice there. I like that. Okay. Alright, and we got that. Okay, man. Okay. I think we're almost cooking with Crisco here. Let me see. I'm going to move up a little bit more. We need to talk. So, here's what's going on. I'm really kind of conflicted about when it comes to space. Yeah, space. Space. And so what am I talking about? Well, let me take the long road less traveled, and I'll explain. This is what I'm talking about. This is the space. This little bike path. If you notice, there's not a whole lot of room to maneuver. And when people come whizzing down on their electric bikes, there's very little room for somebody to get around. I've been trying to go for little afternoon walks, kind of like a little quarter mile every hour on the hour, and I think that's kind of a good thing to do. And so the problem is that when you're walking and there's hardly any room for a walker, pedestrian to maneuver around these fast-moving bikes, it gets very, very precarious. And another problem I have with space is right over here. People just love to park in our parking lot, and they sometimes abandon vehicles here, and it really bothers me. So you might ask, well, why does it bother you? Well, it bothers me because the parking isn't for vacationers, it's for parishioners. And, you might think, well, why can't you just be a little easygoing and just not worry about it so much? Well, the problem is that the moment the word gets out on the street that, yeah, you can go park over at that Catholic church, my parking lot would be absolutely full of all sorts of people who are now trying to use our parking lot for their own private needs. Now, if a person's coming to Mass, they're coming to a funeral service, a baptism, the wedding, hey, not a problem, not a problem. But for the most part, a lot of people, early in the morning or sometimes late at night, will sneak into a parking lot, they'll park, and they'll maybe go to a hotel or something like that, and they basically park here for free. And the moment other people see other people parking here, then I get an influx of a whole bunch of other people parking here. So the problem, what am I trying to say here? I guess I'm trying to say that the problem is our vacationers sometimes can be very rude people. About a year ago, I was walking down the trail, and 4 teenage kids, teenage boys, literally coming screaming down this trail here. Instead of going single file, they were going 2 by 2 in both lanes, and it was right about here where, as I was walking, I heard, "Hey, old man, get off the trail!" And as I turned, they were on top of me, and I watched them go by, and I was not a happy camper. So whether it's the trail or the parking lot, we encounter sometimes vacationers who tend to be very, very selfish and self-centered and feel that they somehow have some entitlement to park whenever, wherever they want. After I had this gentleman, young guy today, drove up in a Prius, but the thing was he had been there for like 4 or 5 minutes talking on the phone, and I quietly waited. I didn't yell at him, I didn't scream at him, I didn't, cuss him out or anything. But once he finally got off the phone, he kind of like wasn't even going to acknowledge me, and I said, I'm sorry, but this is not public parking, so can you please, when he goes, and he just, very abruptly goes, I'm not parking, and he just sped off. But anyway, that's the issues that I have with space here in vacation land, whether it's on the trail or it's in the parking lot, dealing with very, very selfish and sometimes even dangerous people, rude people, and that seems to be a real problem. All right. Holy smoking pipe, Padre. Yes, coming back at you with another pipe video. And just the housekeeping details here. We got my beautiful Dunhill, what is this? Canadian. It's Canadian there. I just heard some little ding there, because I'm a ding-a-ling. Okay. I'm using a brand new, right out of the box, DJI Osmo Action 4. So let me maybe bring it up just a little bit more there. And let's see if I can kind of turn it that way. Okay. So it's a little bit different. I'm using, I know last video I made a video using my X3, Insta360 X3. I kept saying 3X, but it's X3. And although I liked some of the video stuff out of that, I do recognize that the audio quality just wasn't that good. I was just using the native mics on that, and there was just too much, I think it just wasn't picking up as well as I normally used. My normal audio usually is. Anyway. Okay, so tonight, I am smoking, thanks to James there. James, you know who you are. Some Boswell's peaches and cream. And it's quite delicious. Quite delicious. And got a little bit of tea here. Some sweet tea. That's quite good. And it is sweetened with xylitol. Wonderful, wonderful xylitol. So I'm going to use this new camera. And it's kind of interesting because in some ways I'm still going through a little bit of my anniversary here. My 4-year anniversary being here at the lake. Today has been an absolutely gorgeous day today. Thunderstorms pretty much most of the afternoon. And it's hard to believe this. I was just trying it out today. Oh, I can see myself. Hello, self. I didn't have my watch with me. But, oops, I guess that went. Okay, so that screen went off. I'm going to assume that it's still recording. I see the little red light flashing on and off. So there we go. So, what was I saying? Now I completely forgot. Just thunderstorms all day today. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Um, trying to do three things at once here, and I'm distracted, as you can probably tell. I actually walked over 10 miles today. Didn't really go anywhere, but I actually did 10 miles. And how I accomplished that was that I just, about every hour on the hour, I just went for like a little quarter-mile walk one way, and then I'd come back, so I'd make a half a mile. And I tried to do that every hour on the hour. And then when the thunderstorms came, I went out and walked in the rain. It's gorgeous, absolutely delicious. So I was just kind of like, because I usually do a couple miles in the morning, and I try to get around 3 to 5 miles a day, sometimes 6. But tonight I'm getting close to, I'm a little over 11 miles, maybe 11 miles and some change. Who knows? I might actually get 12 miles in today. That's incredible. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm a little, I've been walking in my Vibram 5 Fingers and Vivo Bare Feet shoes. And they do tend to, I do feel it, the last couple of days. This is good. Peaches and cream. I've been noticing, though, the last few days when I've been out walking in my Vivo Barefoots, that I've hardly have any soreness. But today I doubled everything, so yeah, I'm going to feel soreness again. So my feet are a little sore. We'll see how they are in the morning, but mostly it's the heels that get me in the end, But so anyway, I am back on this beautiful stormy night. I don't know if it's going to storm anymore tonight, but we're supposed to be getting, there's supposed to some kind of actual hurricane, maybe in the little Gulf of Mexico or something. I don't know. Or on the outskirts of California. I don't know. Apparently there's some tropical storm. And I know that the people in Hawaii, Lahaina, are just absolutely devastated after that fire. And it's so interesting because, believe it or not, I think Mark Zuckerberg actually has a big compound down there. He has one right down, literally a mile down the road here at Sunnyside. He has one in Palo Alto or Menlo Park. So, although I've been to the Big Island in Hawaii, I've never been to Maui. Here today, gone to Maui. But the Zuck has, I guess, a huge plantation on that island, and people aren't too happy with him right now. And I'd say the people aren't very happy with the community up here. Now, again, I don't know everybody here, but a lot of the people that I do know, they don't have a lot of good, positive things to say about the Zuck. And I think it's because, he doesn't really want to be involved in local communities. He just wants to carve out his little empire and hold forth, And it would be really, really great. And maybe it's impossible for people like that with that kind of money and prestige, I guess, or fame to rub elbows with the hoi polloi. So, but he certainly has not endeared himself to me personally, because he has his big, huge earth-moving vehicles, dump trucks and the like, and they try to park in our parking lot because it's a big parking lot. I mean, when it's not being used, and it's only meant for parishioners, not vacationers, and certainly not for Zuckerburgers, Zuckerbilderburgers. So I had to kind of tell them, guys, you can't be staging your vehicles here anymore. You can't do it. And so I'm sure that they weren't happy about that, but hey, sorry. Anyway, but that's another story for another day, I guess, but I think it's kind of played out already. So I'm smoking my Canadian, my Oppenheimer pipe here, and there's a reason for that, because I went and saw Oppenheimer just about 3 days ago. Me and my best buddy, he came up to do some electrical work, and then we kind of knocked off early that afternoon, drove down to Reno. I was playing at one of these big cinemas down there, Regal Cinemas, maybe, I don't know, Cinemark or whatever, those, they have different varieties. Anyway, so a Regal, I can't remember which one it was, but anyway, we went down there. I think it was the Century. I think that's what it's called, Century Cinema. Yeah. So we went and saw it, and I don't know if anybody's seen it. And one guy, I saw a review just before, the night before, and the guy said something which I thought was, well, after seeing it, I said the guy was right. He said that, believe it or not, kind of like quote unquote spoiler alert, if you've seen the trailers, and I thought trailers were awesome. That's the problem with trailers. They can make trailers seem so amazing. And then what do? They make you think that the rest of the movie is going to be that amazing and more so. Very rarely is that the case. Sometimes it is, but most of the time, it usually pales in comparison. They can make the trailer look just so amazing. And then you get there and you go, that's not what the trailer kind of told me I was going to see here. So just up front with y'all, I would say I would give the movie, and again, this isn't trying to slam the movie. It's not trying to, dismiss the movie or any way. It's just that I mean, to be very honest, I give it a 6 out of 10. And that's not great, obviously, but it's not poor. It's, I'm sure if I went and watched the Barbie movie, I'd probably try to find something on a negative scale to give that, but because feminism, is cancer. Okay, so, and no, I haven't gone and seen Barbie. I plan on seeing Barbie, kind of like Captain Marvel. I'm just not in for, a rehash of third wave feminism. It's just not something I'm interested in, anyway, so it's not fairy tale, it's propaganda, and I'm just not, I'm just not really into that. So anyway, so getting back to the Oppenheimer movie, the things that again, I'm not trying to take anything away from it if you haven't seen it. When I say is it worth your time? For a first viewing, it's okay. It's really, a lot of people don't like 3-hour-long dialogue-heavy movies. Okay, now I'm not one of those. I like those. I like those kind of movies. I like movies that make you think. That's not I guess that's not really my problem. My problem is that one critique that I keep hearing over and over and over and over again is it's kind of, the characters are one-dimensional. They're kind of flat. There's no real character arc. And I have to agree with that. Yeah, they have some characters that come on and do some, some good drama. But it's kind of a pastiche. It's kind of like a collage. It's like it's just a bunch of little vignettes stitched together, that tell the story of Oppenheimer, a little bit about the the first atomic bomb, the making of that, and all that went into it. But one guy said rightly, he says, hey, if you've seen the trailer, you've seen all the good bits already. I thought, really? Because I really thought that the first explosion was going to be like something. It's almost going to be like the way I was led to believe was like you're going to actually be right back there at Los Alamos. It's going to be like for you watching this thing in real life. That's the way I kind of thought it was going to be. And it was kind of like, and again, I'd seen a lot of documentaries about the Trinity Project and the gadget and all that. And some of these movies or documentaries are really good. And they're just, superb actually. So I guess it was kind of anticlimactic, really. I mean, it was like, okay, all right, yeah, okay, but I've already seen that in the trailer. I saw, like 80% of the shots were pretty much you saw it in the trailer, and this guy was right. A lot of the good bits were you already saw it. He said you have already seen all the good stuff, and then the rest of it's just kind of, spliced together in the editing room. And the story is, if you know the story, it's okay, Manhattan Project, Leslie Groves and Robert Oppenheimer and Edward Teller and all those, Albert Einstein and all those key players, I guess, from history. It's just, I think the problem was that, and I don't know, sometimes I think Nolan can probably, I don't know, can he tell a good story? The Batman trilogy, I think, was probably his best, fiction, science fiction or fiction, trilogy. I think that, in other words, one of the things that I didn't like about the end of the movie was and I heard a lot of people say different things, but really it was kind of a little bit of how evil America is because they created this bomb, they dropped it on these innocent Japanese people, and now we're left with this evil genie that's out of the lamp, and we're all going to be nuked, And then the problem was that I think he used the first 2 hours and 55 minutes to then kind of hammer home his anti-nuclear missile statement. It's kind of like, I came all the way just for this. I don't mind people making me think, and but this was towards the end there. It was just, and it was so abruptly done at the end. I thought, you're going to make an anti-nuke movie, and you're going to be so blatant about and so cheap. It was kind of a cheap, this little preachy thing, this little thing at the end. Nuclear weapons are evil, and humanity's evil and bad, and America's bad, and and it's like, I thought, I had a feeling it was going to be something like that. Again, he waited to the very end to make his statement, but at the end he couldn't resist, doing that. Instead of kind of leaving it to where people could kind of digest the movie and kind of be, maybe thinking about this issue, if you wanted to make it political at the end like he did. And again, it was subtle. Don't get me wrong, it was subtle. But I'm already seeing a lot of these, younger people, and we're so evil and bad, and we dropped this bomb on these innocent people. And I keep saying, you know what, your ignorance of World War II is showing. Okay, remember, folks, Japan started this on December 7, 1941. Again, I'm not saying that the loss of human life by using the atomic bomb was something we don't regret. We regret, those kinds of things. But we were already firebombing both Japan and Germany, and we were trying to bring the war to an end, okay? Because it just was going on and on and on. Just look at the thing in Afghanistan and Iraq, almost 20 years, and we won't even get into that can of worms. But the thing is that people want to conveniently forget the parts of history that, invalidate their, look how evil America is. We dropped this bomb on these innocent people. Again, you have to see the whole history. And you can't just isolate those two events, Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and say how bad and evil we are when we didn't start this, okay? So all I'm trying to say is that for y'all young people who are really anti-America people, let's be America haters instead of, loving our country, this is just more grist for the mill for them. They just start eating this stuff up. And I feel like, well, you know what? Your ignorance of history is really showing, because that's not how it, you're conveniently forgetting the earlier parts, so you can just feel really justified and virtuous in your conclusions that, what we did to end the war was evil and bad, So it was kind of, because it was so subtle, a lot of people, I don't think, picked up on that. And I'm like going, really? Really? You're really going to do this at the end of your movie? And I thought, no. It's sort of like, now, some people have asked me if I've seen the movie Nefarious. Let me get my pipe going here again. That movie was a powerful movie, okay? Powerful movie. And if you haven't seen Nefarious, I highly recommend that you go see it. But just like Oppenheimer, with its clunky ending, I think Nefarious has the same doggone thing. You're sitting there and it looks like, the curtain's been drawn, and then it reopens again and there's Glenn Beck. Why? I don't dislike Glenn Beck. I'm not a big Glenn Beck fan. But at the same time, you're mixing, talk about breaking the fourth wall, kind of. You're not just breaking it, you're kind of nuking it. It's like, why? Why did you have to take this powerful movie that left you with this gripping conclusion? Because the whole thing was just like, oh my gosh. That was just powerful. You could have left it right there, end it. The end. Roll credits. You're done. You've got people literally on the edge of their chair and they don't even know what to do now. And then you clunky ending, completely, talk about non sequitur. Like, what? Where did this come from? And I just thought, you know what? That ruined that movie for me. Now, I tried to say, well, okay, hey, you make your movie the way you want to. But it did not work for me. It was like, man, that just was like, it's kind of like stepping in a bunch of dog poo-poo out, and you get outside the movie and you go, oh, what's that? I'm sorry, don't mean to be crude, but that's the way I felt at the end of it. It's like, why did you have to ruin this movie? If you wanted to have a Glenn Beck podcast, or something, maybe, at the end saying, if you want to learn more, or, if you're interested in this topic, go to whatever Glenn Beck, podcast, and, we'll talk more about the movie. I could have handled that. That wouldn't have been a problem. But to have him just, go from blank screen to Glenn Beck, and I'm going, what? What happened here? Where do we turn off here? We made a wrong turn somewhere. Okay. So again, great movie, but they have the clunky, it's this awkward ending that just doesn't really fit. And I kind of felt that way with Oppenheimer. It was like at the very end, we had to have our anti-nuclear propaganda statement at the end, And it was like, really? Did you really need to do that? So, hey, like I said, it's his movie. He can make it any way he wants to. But I just felt that it didn't work. And two, it was cheap. It was a cheap shot. It was like, oh, really? You're gonna make me sit for almost over 3 hours just to tell me that nukes are evil? Really? Okay. All right. So take a breath. Take a breath. That's not bad for a little instant tea with some xylitol. Quite refreshing. So anyway, I watched it. The cinematography was really beautiful. Now, I didn't see it in IMAX. I wish I did. I don't know if that would have changed my opinion. I don't know if it would have bumped it up to a 7. My buddy gave it like a 7.5. And I'm like going, well, there were just things there that were just awkward. And I'm not a prude by any chance, but the little sex scenes that they had, especially when he was doing the courtroom thing, or not the courtroom thing. Well, it was kind of courtroom thing, the interrogation thing or the hearing thing to get his license renewed or revoked. And they just had this bizarre thing where he's kind of like, it's this surreal thing. He's there, and then all of a sudden he's, with this gal, and it's like, why? I mean, they just could have referenced, you had an affair with this woman. He could have just, he could have just done one of these numbers, that's right. And just let it go at that. Maybe flashed her picture there or something like that. But to have this bizarre, lovemaking scene, it was like, why? It doesn't make, I mean, I understand he's trying to be artistic. He's so auteur, it's like, oh, this is a director's film. It just didn't really mean anything. It was just kind of like, oh, let's shock people kind of thing. It's like, really? Come on. The Cillian Murphy adaptation, or his portrayal of Robert Oppenheimer, was, I think had the trailer been just a little hint of something greater, but again, if you saw the trailer, you kind of saw the movie. I hate to say that, but I just assumed that he was going to really have this really depth to Oppenheimer because of some of these looks that he would give with those eyes of his. You think, wow, this guy's really going deep with this character. I thought it was going to really be, a real character arc, but it was just, like I said, kind of a pastiche of, little segments of his life that were all sewn together in the form of the movie. And it was just like, well, I don't know. I don't feel there was anything elevating about it. There wasn't anything that made me really say, wow, this was sure, everybody understands from a historical point of view that the splitting of the atom, and that was the thing that I remember we used to talk about. It was the splitting of the atom. It wasn't so much the nuclear bomb. I mean, yes, nuclear bombs were a result of that, but splitting the atom, that was the really big thing. I just remember that as a kid even, can the atom be split? And, and that was just that whole concept is how can you split an atom, just, I don't know. Maybe here's another idea. Maybe it would have been better, again, instead of putting it into a movie, maybe put it into an HBO or even a Netflix, series, where you could really develop the characters and the ideas and the themes, and instead of just it was kind of like you took, let's just say that you had a bunch of colored water balloons and you just threw them on the wall and said, okay, that's his early life, this is his middle life, this is his life with the mistress, this is his life in the front of the hearings and all that. And it just kind of like, well, let's just see what splashes on the wall and what we remember, kind of a thing, instead of really kind of maybe unpacking it a little bit more and really being a little more deliberate with character development and showing, I don't know. It just left me cold. Like I said, cinematography was awesome. Yeah, there were a lot of great characters in there, but they were like little blips on a radar. Oh, there's an interesting moment. Oh, where'd that go? Okay, now there's another interesting moment. Oh, well, that's an interesting character. Oh, this is an interesting incident, and it was all just thrown together. And I don't know. I mean, I understand that sometimes that's kind of the way they make movies these days. They just kind of go from one thing to the next and the next and the next and the next thing. There's just like, it's hard to focus, And so I think that was probably a movie or a series, an idea, a historical event, and characters that if you really wanted to do it justice, you would have needed at least maybe 10 episodes in a series to really do it justice. Instead of trying to cram it all together in a little over 3 hours, maybe that's the problem. Maybe they just rushed through the whole thing instead of really taking their time and maybe doing a little bit more due diligence and a lot more, a little bit more artistic craft to really make the story come alive instead of it just being kind of, again, it was a biopic, I know that, but it could have been really, I think, a lot better. So if you haven't seen it yet, do I recommend seeing it? It's okay. Like I said, some people laugh when I say it's a good popcorn film. Yeah, it really is. It's a good popcorn film. Get a big bucket of popcorn, because you're going to need it, and be prepared to get a good drink, a big size drink. I did. And just, now, I'm a guy who, because I'm old, I usually have to, go to the restroom at least once an hour. And for some reason, I guess it was the hope in me. I kept thinking, well, I'll wait until, the next hour, because I think I'm going to miss something really crucial that I'm going to miss out on the whole movie if I get up and go. So I didn't have to go really, 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 really bad, but I was like going, well, okay, maybe I could take a break. No. If I go now, I'm going to miss something important. And I kept waiting for that something important, and it never came. So that should tell you something. My buddy who went with me, he doesn't have the problem with his bladder that I have with mine, and he had to go like twice. So for me to hold on to and retain all that was kind of a little bit of an Olympic event for me, because it was like, I keep waiting for the payoff, right? Okay, it's going to be a great payoff because I've really been patient. I've really been paying attention. I mean, I wouldn't say I didn't take out a notepad and started taking notes, because, I think you probably have to kind of maybe do that almost, and you kind of like, okay, I need to figure out, okay, who this character is and why he's important or why she's important, kind of keep a running scorecard in my head of like, okay, this is person here, this person A, person B, person C, it was one of those kinds of things. And I just didn't really want to miss out. And so at the very end, I kind of felt like, I could have probably gone to the bathroom 2 or 3 times and I wouldn't have missed out on anything. So there you go. Let me just be honest with you. Oh boy. So, but again, I'm not here to pan the movie. I'm not here to put it down. I'm just saying that, I guess I'm trying to say that did the hype really, did it live up to the hype? And the answer is simply no. It just didn't. Was it a good movie? It was a good movie. Now, I know I'm going to say something I'm probably going to really torque some of you off. The best movie I've seen so far in the last year was Maverick, okay? And I know that that's all, that's science fiction. It's all make-believe. But there were some moments in there where I think old Tom Cruise just really did, and I think I shared this last fall when it came out. I just liked the character development of this character. It was a lively character. It still retained the original character. It wasn't some new, wimped out version, In fact, he kind of had this just quiet confidence when people were trying to talk trash to him. And, he just kind of like, okay, he didn't let things get to him. He still had his humor. He still had his wit. He was still able to perform the mission and all that good stuff. And that was just a fun movie. Okay. I know it was make-believe. I know it's not real, but at the same time, kind of like Heartbreak Ridge with Clint Eastwood and Gunny Highway. Okay. Just a movie that makes you feel good. Okay. It makes you, again, I know that, I know Oppenheimer is not fiction. It's not science fiction. It's reality. It's history. And it's probably not supposed to make you feel good. But there could have been some redeeming moments. Not so much that, we're like jumping up and down saying, hooray, we invented nuclear weapons so we can destroy the world. No, that's not what I'm trying to say. But I'm just trying to say that, instead of trying to make it a political thing, maybe you could have opened it up to where it was a little more thought-provoking and not so political at the end, I think. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Anyway, but you go see the movie. You think about it. You let me know later if you want. You saw the movie. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What were your thoughts about it? So there you go. Let's see here. I don't know how much time I've got left. I don't know if there's anything more I was going to say. I know I've made another video. Again, I called it Wisenheimer, so this will be Wisenheimer 2. Uh, yeah, yeah, forewarned is forearmed or something like that, or anyway. So beware, 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 beware. Oh boy. So yeah, well, we're getting ready for it's late summer now. It's the 18th of August, so yeah, things are kind of winding down here. A lot of our summer things will be at the end of Labor Day. They'll be all, summer will be completely over, and we'll be getting ready for fall and winter. So last winter was pretty challenging, I have to say, and I'm hoping that if it is challenging as it was last winter, at least I probably will have better ways of coping and kind of getting through it in a more of a positive way than this last winter. This last winter caught me off guard, and I just talked to somebody else today who, unfortunately, I guess they have almost the same kind of problems that I have with their back, and they got some really bad news the day before. And I think what happens is when we allow that anxiety and that stress, especially when it's literally kind of crippling stress and anxiety, if we allow it to really consume us, we're setting ourselves up physically for, our bodies to break. I really think there's some truth to that. So, this year I'm hoping, see, it's been interesting. I'll kind of say this in closing. The last 7 years of my life have just gone from crisis to crisis to crisis. And, that's why my heart goes out to those people in Hawaii, especially. About 7 years ago, we were we were in the middle of a deluge. We kind of go from drought to deluge in California. So it was like the last year of heavy rains, and up there in Chico and Oroville, the dam was overflowing. It had the spillway had cracked and broken, and so the major spillway was basically, well, they still ran it. They ran it, unfortunately, and I don't know if that was a good thing. Department of Water Resources, I think they're probably going to have to do, I'm sure they already have done after action reports saying maybe we shouldn't have done that, because they basically, they just rode that thing and just wrecked it even more. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there was something more they could do. But then it was in danger of breaking over the emergency spillway, and it was already kind of cresting. And if that had gone, it could have really done a lot of huge damage to the valley. So we were, that year, 2017, was, catastrophe. It's like, okay, the dam's going to break, oh, great, So the parish was trying to, at least we had a parish hall, and we were trying to, we opened it up just in case if the dam did break and people needed a place to stay for a few days. But then, we were thinking, well, how are we going to support this? We only have like 2 bathrooms, one male and one female, and there's no showers. We have no real cots or bedding. I mean, yeah, it would be a place in the storm, so they could stay warm, but they'd have to bring their own bedding, and as far as food and medicines and all that, we didn't have that infrastructure. So that was a big stressor outer. Okay, so then a year after that, we have the Paradise fires and all the fires that we had in Northern California that year. So that was terrible. And then I come up here, and the first summer was okay, but then that fall and winter, we went into COVID for 2.5 years. And then after that, we had our wildfires up here. So it's been going from catastrophe to catastrophe to catastrophe. And it's like, crisis. And, I mean, I remember when I was growing up, yeah, you'd hear about something like every 5 or 10 years, something really bad happening. But not every single blessed year. And it's like on your doorstep, literally on your doorstep, not just, hearing about it from some poor people that are thousands of miles away, but no, this is in your neighborhood. You're going to get flooded. You're going to get burned out. You're going to get buried alive, So that stress And that anxiety just, wow, if you let it get you, it's a real killer. So this year I've got to figure out another way of coping with that because up until the blizzard, it was like, okay, we're kind of at the peak and we're gonna, everything will start kind of calming down. It didn't. It went from this to that. It was like it went from, kind of like starting to ebb, in the natural cycle, quote unquote. It went from the midpoint and then it shoots up even more. It was like it was like a kick in the groin. Let me just put it that way. We weren't expecting that. And I think that's where I got really over. I was consumed with a lot of anxiety, and it was just a matter of days because I was walking around just so tense. I was just so tense, and eventually when I threw my back out, it was just I kind of sensed that I can't carry that kind of stress. I've got to find a positive way to deal with it instead of just holding it all in and stressing out. Because something's going to give. Something will give. And then my back went bing! And I went, oh. Whew, man. So anyway, Lord willing, we can get through the rest of the summer and without incident. And hopefully this winter will be more manageable. And it won't be the fear factor that it was. Because, you'd shovel that roof. And then within 3 or 4 days, it was all back again. I mean, normally it takes about a couple of really good storms to get about 4 or 5 feet on the roof, it becomes very concerning. The first 2 years I was here, it was, it would build up, but it would then, it didn't get to a critical point where you go, we got to get that snow off the roof and we got to do it now. And so the third year that I was here, that's when I started realizing this gets serious. When it wants to really get serious, it gets serious. So we had it shoveled once that year, but this year we had it shoveled at least 3, maybe 4 times. Never heard of such a thing. So it was a good old-fashioned Sierra Nevada winter, that was for sure, So anyway. I digress, and I need to probably bring this to a close. I want to see how it turns out on the new DJI Action 4, Osmo Action 4, and I'm using the DJI wireless mic. I'm hoping it's better audio quality than my last video. So thank you guys for tuning in again. I really appreciate it. Hope you're all doing well. Stay safe out there. Enjoy what's left of summer, and we'll see you in the next video coming soon in September. All right. Take care, and as I like to say, we all can say it together, light up your world and light up your pipe. And go out there and be salty. Okay, thanks for watching now. Bye-bye.